Hi, good morning. It's Paula from On a String. It's Saturday, the 19th of August, and I'm about to start my Design on the Fly blue session. So my session today is being supported by Michelle from Beadworx. So Beadworx is a shop up in Queensland, up in the Gold Coast, and I haven't actually ever been to Michelle's shop, but I've certainly purchased lots of beads from her, and I believe that Michelle's shop is an absolute treasure trove of beads. And I know that if there's a particular bead in a style that you like, Michelle will generally have all of the colours of those. So by all means, get on and have a look at Michelle's store, Beadworx, and that's Beadworx. So that's the name of Michelle's shop. Thanks everybody for joining today. So this is a Facebook Live session. So we're going to be designing on the fly. I don't know what I'm going to make today. I've got a surprise package of beads here that I'm going to unpack. I'll do my best to keep up with comments that come up on the screen. If you have any questions, etc., I will do my best to answer them. Hi, Shelley. Looking forward to seeing you again too. Shelley's joining me from Pflugerville, Texas. So thanks so much for coming along, Shelley. And let's get started with this design on the fly. So bear with me while I flip the camera and actually move my stool as well. So hold on 1 second. So you get to see my roof, and I'll just flip that over. And here is my bead board with this gorgeous parcel of beads, and you can see on here that I actually haven't opened this yet. So whatever is in here is going to be just as much as a surprise to me as it is to you. So Michelle from Beadworx, I prompted her with the design challenge of blue beads. So I wear a fair amount of blue. A lot of my house is decorated in blue, but I don't actually bead a lot with blue. So I thought this was a great challenge for me to actually do. So there you go. There's Michelle's address, and it's at beadworx.net.au. So here is, you can see there I've just opened this package. So again, I don't know what is actually in here. So I'm unboxing these blue beads. Okay. Oh, we've got some blue sparkles on our paper here. Lovely little box with some tissue paper in it. So thank you from Michelle, which is great. And there's her little card as well. Oh, and she's gone the theme with the blue paper, and fantastic. She's given me a list as well. So that's great. So I'll be able to tell you what's in here. Some gorgeous blue ribbon. She's certainly gone the whole theme with this today. And let's see what's actually in here for Design on the Fly in blue. Wow, so look at those. There's some gorgeous dagger beads with a sort of holographic print on them, like a peacock sort of style. So there are 5 by 16 dagger beads, so they'll be great in something, I am sure. Some little silver charms, so they're a double hole charm there. They're a connector, so an antique silver mandala. Oh, some of these papuka disc beads. Oh, I really love these as cabochons. This is called Slushy Blue Raspberry. So straight away, these are going to be either some sort of capture for a cabochon, you know, earring, top, pendant. We'll see how they work out. Oh, some of these are gorgeous too. I've used these before, Carlos beads. These are in the Frost Azurin AB. So they're a little double 2-hole bead, and they've got a coating on one side and a frosty colour on the other side. So they're a really nice feature bead to add. Oh, a tassel, a little mini tassel. Fantastic. All these designers and store owners know how much I love using tassels, so I'm really happy to see that in here as well. These are called Samos beads. So these are another 2-hole oval bead. That's in the milky blue turquoise. Straight away, you can see that these go really well together. A really nice contrast, pale blue with the blue tassel as well. Oh, Duracoat Deep Aqua Blue. I actually love these beads. I really like this colour, so I'm happy to see some of those in there. Some little 3mm check pearls in the Nile Blue. Some gem duo beads in the backlit aqua pink. So, oh, that'll be a nice contrast if I pop some hot pink in with that as well. We've got some AB fire polish in the 4mm, and I've got some 8 size 8 seed beads in the alabaster. And if you've done classes with me, you know I really like using size 8 beads as a starter bead for lots of projects. So some fantastic things in there for me to play with today. So it's great. Michelle's provided me with a list as well. So I'll pop these details up on the feed later. But these are all the beads that Michelle has included today. So let's get started with our design on the fly in blue. So does Michelle sell the package of blue beads you are using? I am sure, Shelley, that Michelle will sell those for you because she's one of the best suppliers going around in putting together packages. So by all means, get in touch with Michelle and she will definitely be able to help you with that. All right, straight away, I'm going to go to the tassel because I love working with and using tassels. And this is a really cute little mini tassel. So I'm going to just take the little sleeve off that and the rubbish off there as well. I wonder whether I could incorporate this ribbon too, potentially. This could actually be the pendant that actually hangs from that. Good idea, including the blue ribbon. To me, straight away, these Samos beads are going to go really nicely around this tassel. So for me, this will be about generally sort of 6 of these go around one of these. And I'm just going to grab my file line, which is in another box at the moment. You can definitely see this is design on the fly because I am designing and grabbing things out as we go. I will add other beads into this piece as I'm making it. There'll be beads from my own stash that are either, you know, suitably colour matched to go towards it. So what I'm putting in now will be, I think, potentially a silvery colour may go with these because blue and silver goes particularly well together. So I may grab out my silver beads. I'm just getting my cutter. And I've got, of course, my trusty file line cutter there as well, the boomerang cutter. So the silver beads that I'll probably look at will be these ones. I love, love, love these beads. So this is the Czech silver Miyuki beads. These ones are, yeah, they may go. No, I might do something different. Potentially, what other colour? Any suggestions of colour to maybe go with this? Blue, that nice coppery, dark, bronzy colour looks great with it as well. So there's a really good contrast colour. Another one may be a green, potentially, to go with it as well. Or that dark green, so that's the higher metallic June bug. I probably like that one. Yeah, I think I probably like that dark green to go with that. Okay, so I'm going to thread my needle. So I'm going to start with some crystal fire line here. As always, I always start with about 1.5 meters of thread, and I generally always start with a size 10 needle. I'm happy to downsize my needle if I need to, but I generally find that I use a bigger needle. It suits my beading style. A smaller needle I tend to bend relatively quickly, so I will start with a size 10. I'm just going to zoom that up a little bit so you can see a bit closer. Okay, so I've got my lovely little tassel here, and this tassel is a shortest length tassel. I'll just measure that so we can see how long that one actually is. That's a tassel that's 6 centimetres long, or I don't know what inches is, but probably bit over, nearly 2 inches, I suppose, or just a bit over 2 inches. Good morning, Alex. Good morning, Gina. Thanks for coming along today. So you can see here straight away, I'm actually going to start adding these Samos beads around that really, you know, beautifully placed little band of tassel to pop that in. And I want to put in a bead in between each one. And I think what I'll actually include is, where I can find them, I'm actually going to include, not gold, a demi-round bead. And I do have some in an aquary sort of colour as well. That's probably the wrong colour. I've got some in a navy. Navy might look nice with this as well, all blues. It's a matter of when you're designing like this, it's a matter of sort of placing all the different beads on the board together and seeing what goes with what. But I'm thinking that my demi-round could actually be that same June bug colour So I'm just going to pop those to one side for the moment, and that might be the colour to go with it. So what I've got here is a demi-round in the higher metallic dragonfly colour. And ironically, these are the ones that I used for my design on the fly last time with Linda. So amazing how these all come together. I'm so sorry if my screen is freezing, Shelley. I am just using my home internet, so bear with me and hopefully that sorts itself out. Okay, so what I want to do is just pick up one, and these beads obviously have a right and a wrong side as well. So there's a domed side on one side and the non-dome on the other. And potentially I could do them like that so that they actually sat opposite each other. Actually, that mightn't be a bad idea. So what I'm going to do is pop a demi-round bead in between each of those. And I'm going to remember to pick those up so that the dome side is one side and that the flat side is the other side. So I'll pop that there. These are 2 hole beads, as you can see here. So there's a hole on each side. Keep popping those on. Sometimes it's easier to lay them out on your mat, and remember to pick up the top hole or the bottom hole, depending upon which way you want the dome to actually go. If I got those right, yep. So you can see there I'm making that nice little pattern with these demi-rounds and Samos beads. Nope, that one goes that way. And I think I'll probably need 8 to go around the depth of this tassel, which will be a bit of guesswork. We'll just see whether it is 8, but I think that's probably what I'll need. And that one goes that way. Okay, so now I'm actually going to tie those into a ring, but I'm just going to check that that is what's going to wrap around here. And yep, it will. And I just need to pick up one more final demi-round so that I've got one in between each bead. Okay, I'll just pop that out of the way. So I'm actually just going to tie these into a loop to start with. So I don't want to tie it too tight at the start because then I won't get it over the top of my tassel head. So I'm just sort of tying a loosish knot there around that ring. And then I'm just going to feed that through my tassel and pull those ends tight so that they join around the tassel. So now I can flip those beads so that they sit one up, one down, all the way around like that. 8 was the perfect number. And always I like to make sure that, you know, an even number with this type of work works really well. Freezing for Alex too. She thought it was her. I'm so sorry. There's not a great deal I can do about freezing, and let's hope that it actually sorts itself out. So the only thing I could potentially do is switch to my Wi-Fi. So let me just see if that sorts things out. Okay. So what I'm going to do is bring my needle now. I'll just move that tassel head thread out of the way. Bring my needle through one of those Samos beads, and I've just managed to catch that loop there. My tail thread is there. That's probably going to get in the way, but we'll cut that off later. And I want to make sure that I use these sort of anchor beads of the demi-round to bring beads up over or into this next sort of hole. So what Michelle gave me were these gorgeous aqua beads here. So they might actually be a great bead to pop in there. So we'll pop some of these aqua. So that's the Duracoat demi-round, Duracoat deep aqua blue bead. Okay, so I'm just going to pick up, I think it's probably 3 is the appropriate number. So if I just pick up 3 of those beads here, and I'm just going to pop them through that hole there, and see how they've just grabbed nicely around that Samos bead there. So I've just got 3 beads there. So I'm just going to pick up 3 again. And now I'm going to come back through. Where am I going to come back through? The demi-round bead that I popped there in the middle before. We'll see what happens when I do that. Again, if you've done one of these with me before, you know that design on the fly really means I am making this up as we go along. So there's no pattern here. It's just me working through beads and techniques that I know. to create these designs. I'm actually going to do all of the top rounded part at the first instance, and then I'll come around and do the bottom rounded part. So I'm just using that demi-round as the anchor there. Now, okay, so if I can bring that up, if you can see what I'm doing, hopefully that helps. So I'm now just popping the 3 beads there. So there's 3 on the other side. Now this is still loose. It will tighten up as I sort of work through it. And eventually, because of the tassel is a fabric, you actually can stitch into the tassel at some point. So that'll be one way of securing the beads to the work. Will actually be stitching directly into the tassel. So again, I've just popped those 3 beads either side. So you can see now I've got 2 lots of 3 either side of the Samos bead. And I'll just continue that up around here. If you've done one of these with me before, you know that sometimes I will start something and I won't like it and it may end up being cut up. So let's hope that doesn't happen here, but it's always likely that designing on the fly might mean that I need to rethink a design as I'm actually doing it, but I will do my best to keep moving. So I'm going through all 3 of those beads, the 2 demi-rounds and the Samos. I'm up here now on the other side of that last Samos bead. I'm just picking up 3 beads, going through the top of the Samos, and the tail thread's in the way, but I'll move that and pick up 3 and then go through that Samos again. Now, what I want to try and do is work out how to get around the bottom half of the bead. And I think I might be in the right position now to actually do that. Okay, so I've got this, the seed beads all the way around the top Samoses here. And now I'm going to pop them around the bottom. So I'm still coming out of, I'm going to come out of that same demi-round bead here. I'm going to come right out of that demi-round bead. I'm going to pick up another 3 of the seed beads and I'm going now in the opposite direction. And I'm going through the bottom Samos bead like that. So if you look there now, I've now got Samoses surrounded by seed beads either side. So I'm just going to move my work around here. I'll pick up another 3 seed beads. I'm going to come back through that demi-round, Samos and demi-round again, there, again like that. So I've now got my 3 seed beads either side of that bottom. So you can see there, I've got top and bottom. I'm actually going to remove that tail thread because it's annoying me. So I'm just cutting that off, getting that out of the way. Okay, so I've now created this really nice sort of swiggle pattern around. I'll now pick up another 1, 2, 3 seed beads and go through the hole there on the Samos bead. Pick up another 1, 2, 3. And I remember I've got to go through the demi-round, the Samos and the demi-round here again. So I'm coming out through there again. Yeah, Anita, I think it would work with other 2-hole beads. Your count of seed beads obviously would be different because the height of the Samos is an oval, so you do need to think about how many beads are around. But I've often used, 2-hole cabs or 2-hole beads in this type of a design. So you could use this with, say, a gem duo bead, diamond duo, anything like that's got the 2 holes. The rounded 6mm cabs with 2 holes work really well as well. So again, I'm picking up 3. I'm going through the demi-round, the Samos and the demi-round again. And repeat that. So I think I'm nearly at the end. And now I've got this nice sort of squiggly pattern all the way around. And what I might do next is actually start to secure this tassel and beadwork together. So it's still a little bit loose, but I want to make sure that it's well secured. Okay, so you can see there, I've got this really nice squiggly pattern all the way around. Okay, now I want that to sit around the head of the tassel, around that band. So I want to make sure that that's where it sort of stays. And by stitching through the tassel, so what I'm going to do is just push my needle all the way. I'm holding it in the position I want it to be in, but I'm just going to push that all the way through the tassel. So you can see they've actually gone through the fabric of the tassel. And that just holds, that little stitch just sort of holds that a bit more securely. I don't want to, I'll probably do another run through. I'll go through another section and just do another thread pass through, just so that it doesn't sort of wiggle around so much. So I'll just pop that through. Now these stitches that I'm popping into the tassel, you won't actually see these, they'll be covered by beads, but yeah, that's just made that little band a little bit more secure. Okay, so now I've got some really great holes that I want to try and fill in, and Michelle has given me some fire polish beads, and they're a 4mm. They might be a little bit too big. I've got some 3mm, yeah, that's perfect, some 3mm check pearls. So I think they will pop really nicely into some of those holes. So I'll just grab some of those. So they're just a little 3mm pearl, and they, I think, are going to fit into these gaps. So again, this is designing on the fly, so I don't know how this is going to work, but I'm just trying to work out a design as we go. So I'm coming out of a demi-round bead just here. Unloop that, that's just got caught around. Come on. All right, unloop that. I'm coming out of a demi-round bead. Now I've got this sort of rounded oval, you know, shape here. And I think what I'll do is I'll come up between, I'm going to come out of the second size 11 bead there on my little, what would I call this, outer edge that I've added. Now, if I pick up a 3mm pearl and I cross over and I go down the second bead here, look how that one just pops in there nicely in between that outer edge. So now I'm going to repeat that in the bottom. So I'll go through the demi-round. So I'm going to zigzag and repeat this pattern all the way around. Go up through 2 beads, pick up a 3mm pearl, go down through 2 beads, the demi-round, demi-round there, just caught on the tassel there, there we go. And then up through 2 of the seed beads again. Watch that I don't catch all those tassel fringes. Okay, so you can see now, if I pull that tight, I've now started to create this little pattern with the 3mm in between. So I'm using the centre of the 3 beads and going through the second to come down. So down 2 through the demi, like that. Through 2 more beads, pick up a 3mm, a gorgeous colour, those pale blue 3mm, and go back through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or got it all in one go that time. So what that's helping to do is just further lock this little beadwork pattern in place. And I really like this offset, you know, by placing the 2 ovals, one up and one down, it just gives it a really nice look. So again, I'll go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Welcome, Sue. Welcome, Leslie. Nice to see you here too. Tell me where you're joining me from as well. It's really lovely to hear where people have joined from particularly when they've taken the time out of their day or night to join me. So I really appreciate that. If you haven't seen me do one of these before, this is Design on the Fly, where I'm making up the design as I go along. The beads today have been provided by Michelle from Beadworx up in the Gold Coast in Queensland. And Michelle's brief for me today was to provide me with blue beads, which she certainly has done. Some gorgeous aquas, pale blues and lovely sky blue ribbon, which I'm even going to utilise the ribbon in this particular piece, I think is how it will work together. Nearly finished adding the 3 mils. Now, with this type of a design, it's really good to be able to cover the head of that tassel as well. So I want to make sure that my beadwork is really secure, and I'm going to come back and do something around the bottom of those ovals at some point on top. But I'm just going to come back up now, and what I want to do is come out of that top bead over the top of the oval. So I'm going to bring my needle to come all the way through those 3 beads there. Hi, Gina. Nice to see you here as well. I hope you're doing well. Okay, so now I've got these little round 3 mils, and I've got the round of the, just caught that there, I just pulled that through. So I've got the little round 3 mils. I've also got the round of the oval head there. So I want to do something over the top of the ovals first. Now I'm going to continue this theme of these aqua beads, and I think it's actually I'm going to add a silver bead in as well, just so I've got a nice point of difference there. So I've grabbed out some pale silver beads here, and I think possibly 3, possibly 5. Let's see how many actually fit. I think it's 5. So I'm going to pick up 2 of the aqua, 1 of the silver and 2 of the aqua. And then I'm just going to go through the top bead. So you can see there I've just created that little silver shaped over the top of that. That looks really good. This now, because I've used a different colour, it gives me a really great anchor point to start to build up to the top of the tassel. Okay, so I'm actually just going to skip through that 3 mil first and go back up through the next size 11 bead. So pick up 2, 1 and 2, and then go back through 1, 2, 3 like that. So you can see there now I'm going to have those little silver points to start to draw over the top of the tassel. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and again. And by going through those 3 mils again, I'm actually making that even more secure, so they'll all have, you know, a couple of thread passes through them. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and through there again. Okay. So I'm pretty happy with how that's come about. It's actually looking a little bit Moroccan, isn't it? Or something like that. Some sort of Aegean, maybe. Aegean pendant. That might be what I'll call this one. Now, I remember I used the silver to create that really nice anchor point. When I come out of the top of that silver, it actually pulls it into a really nice peak as well. And now I'm going to want to put something over here. So remember Michelle gave me the fire polish, so maybe that might be perfect to pop in there. That may just fit that way. Yep. Okay. So let's grab a couple of those fire polishes. Now the fire polish might need something either side. If that gap, see that gap's, you know, that wide, and the fire polish is a little bit smaller than that, so I might just pop, let's do an aqua either side of the fire polish. And I'm going to bring that all the way over to the next silver bead, like that. And now when I draw that tighter, you can see that's starting to create that dome shape over the top of the crystal, over the top of the tassel. Okay, so aqua, fire polish aqua, and then through the next silver bead. Just like that. Okay. I need some more aqua. Okay, aqua, fire polish and then aqua. And then I'm going to go through that next little silver bead like that. And at some point, this thread of the tassel, I will cut that off because that that's what actually holds the head of the tassel together. But remember, we're covering all of this head of the tassel, and I won't actually need this to attach as part of my pendant. I'll actually build something that does that. Okay, so now when I draw that tighter, if you can see when I pull that really tight, that's now capturing and wrapping around that tassel really firmly. So I'm confident now to cut off this thread. So what I'm going to do, I don't want to actually cut the thread of the tassel here because that could undo it. So I'm actually just going to cut it as close to that knot as possible. And then one of the things I like to do with this type of thread when you cut it is just burn it. So I'm just grabbed out my burner here and I'm just burning the top of that. So I'm just melting the top of that tassel fabric there. Pop my finger on it so that that doesn't come undone. Okay, so now we want to keep building over the top of this. So one of the things with beading is using repeating patterns. So remember I did the blue and silver. I'm just going to repeat that now over the top of the fire polish. So this is sort of a netting design, I suppose you would call this. So if I do 1, 2, silver and 1, 2, and then I'm going to bring that out of that next silver bead over there. So I'm coming out of the first silver bead that I added. Make sure that sits over the top of my fire polish, not underneath it. Yep. So now you can see I've just got that little pattern there over the top of the fire polish. So we're going to repeat that now. So I'll pick up 1, 2 aqua, 1 silver, 2 aqua, and I'm going to go through that next silver bead. This is the beauty of using a contrasting colour. It sort of tells you where to go in your pattern. So when you're designing with colour, having a really good contrast colour really helps with picking, where's the next spot to actually, attach something. So for this type of design, it works particularly well. And the silver is just a really nice little highlight on the top. So you can see there now, this is actually really getting firmer and firmer over the top of this tassel. Hi, Anne. Hi, Sandy. Thanks for joining today on my Facebook Live. This is a design on the fly session where I am using the colour theme of blue. And the beads today have been provided to me from Michelle at Beadworx up in Queensland. And Michelle is a blue lover. I generally don't bead a lot with blue, but I wear a lot of blue and a lot of my house is in blue. So there's certainly a colour I like. Oh, hello, Jamie. Jamie's joined us as well. Jamie is my daughter-in-law, so thank you, Jamie, for coming along. Now, you can see here I've got this really nice sort of triangle dip here, and I know from, my years of beading what's going to fit in really nicely there is that little 3mm. So, again, I'm using that silver bead as the anchor point, and I'm just popping 1 3mm bead in between each of those little silver points, and it's slowly covering the head of that tassel really, really nicely. So nearly finished that top part, and it's drawing up over that cone or dome of the tassel, and we'll be covering up that little nub of fabric that I snipped off before. So look at that. Now we've got really nicely decorated head of a tassel here. It's really sort of secure. I'm just going to run my needle all the way through those 4 3mm beads. So I'm actually skipping over the size 11 bead. I'm not going through that because that draws that even tighter again when I don't go through the size 11. So just through the 3mm, like that. And the length of this tassel, this is actually a really good, say, keychain tassel as well. Not everything has to be a pendant. I wouldn't necessarily wear this as an earring. I think it's too big for an earring. But, you know, this could be a really cool little keychain or bag, hanging ornament, you know, something along those lines. Now, I want to make sure I cover over this little head, and I want to have some sort of loop here as well. So I might come back to that. I want to make sure I do this bottom part of the tassel too. Let me just think about how I'm going to do that. So I want to have a loop that goes over the top of this. So I think what I might do is just do, if I pick up 2 beads and I go through the silver bead like that, and then I come back up through the second silver bead, I'm actually going to create a little herringbone strap that goes over the tops. So herringbone is picking up 2 beads and then coming back up through the second bead, the row below, like that, and picking up 2 beads, going down through 1 bead like that, coming across and coming up through the row below. So this is a flat herringbone, 2-beaded herringbone. And when I pull that really tightly, that'll be a really nice little strap that's going to fit over the top of my little tassel head. So again, pick up 2 beads, go through the row below, come up through that first bead added. I'm going to just repeat that, and we'll get all the way over to the other side, and this will be a really cute little strap that will sit over the top of my tassel head. Probably need about, 10 herringbone rows, so I've done 5 there. Another really versatile stitch to create a double column of beads that sit alongside one another. You can pick up 2 beads at a time. You can actually really speed through herringbone. I'm just going slowly, so I've got lots of thread in between each of these rows that makes it even more secure. So I'll keep popping those beads on, come back through the first one added. Okay, so there's my little strap so far. Keep adding on a couple more. How many rows is that? That's 8, I think I've done now. I don't want the loop to be too high. I just want it to cover over the top of my tassel. I'll just grab out some more silver. Silver I've actually used as a silver plated Miyuki beads. These ones are $28 a tube, so these are really, they're my fancy silver beads. I use those when I'm, want to feel special, because I don't use them for everything because they're so expensive. But yeah, the silver Miyuki are a lovely, lovely, lovely coloured silver. Okay, how many rows is that? 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. Let's just do one more, do 10 for good measure. And I've, of course, got an opposite side that I can attach this to. So I'm going to come out of that first bead, and then remember I've gone through a silver, so I've got a corresponding silver on the other side here. So I'm just going to come through in the same direction and then loop that, so it creates that nice little loop at the top of the tassel. And then I'm going to run my thread just over a couple of beads, just go through a couple, and then come back down and go through that silver bead again, so that I'm securing that on the bead. I could potentially do a little crossbar. I'll have a think about that. I'll run through the silver anchor bead there again and come back up through. So I've gone through that a couple of times. I'll do it one more just to be secure. Then I'm going to go back over to the other side and secure even further, because the bail, this is called a bail that I'm actually building, that's the part that has the most pressure on it in terms of the beadwork. So I've now got this little loop that I've created right at the top, and I'm going to run my needle all the way through my little herringbone strap that I've just built, and come on, in you go. Come back through that very first silver bead that I started this little strap on, and go back up through a couple and just secure that again by going back down a couple of times in there. Okay, So you can see now, I've now got this nice little strap here. So when I can sort of, you know, shape that just by using my awl, you'll see me use it all the time. Got this lovely little strap. And if you saw me open this at the very start, Michelle wrapped this in a pale blue ribbon. And this pale blue ribbon, I feel, will actually go really nicely on this piece. So amazing. And I'll possibly build a little bail keeper to put over the top of that, but I'll just put that aside for the moment. Okay, so the other thing I want to do is make sure that I finish off the bottom part of these this tassel Samos beads. So I'm going to bring my needle and thread all the way back down to the bottom. Hi Marie, thanks for joining me today on my Design on the Fly session. Keep going all the way back down. And remember, I added the two blue beads and a silver bead over the top of each of the oval Samos tops. So I'm going to repeat that pattern at the bottom of the oval as well. Beading is a lot about repeating patterns. So I picked up 2 aqua, 1 silver and 2 aqua, and then I went through the 11 3mm and then the 11 all the way across. And now I'm going to have that same opposite little point at the bottom. I just need some more aqua beads. Amazing what you can pull together with, you know, a few little beads, bit of a decorative idea, you know, a gorgeous tassel as the main focal piece, and all of a sudden we've got a really sweet little beaded tassel, useful as a pendant or, as I said, as a keychain, as a handbag. You can hang this type of thing off a bag. And I'm going to actually, as I said, utilise the ribbon that it actually came wrapped in as well. So I'm being a good recycler. Sorry, my needle has just come unthreaded. And I hope it stopped freezing for people as well. So please let me know if that has continued. A bit of a pain when your internet doesn't work as well as what you'd like. Okay, so again, I'm going through the 11 3mm and the 11 again, creating that really nice point. When you work with tassels like this, particularly working at this bottom end of it, the tassel fringe gets caught up a little bit when you're winding your threads around, but that's okay. We're nearly at the end. And then I think I probably just need to tighten up those points around the bottom of this tassel. Okay, through all 3. So I've got my 4 points here at the bottom. It's a little bit still loosey-goosey there. So what I want to do is use that silver bottom point again. And remember, I put the 4mm fire polish at the top. I don't know that I'll do that at the bottom here because I think I like the sparkle at the top. I don't think it needs to have that at the bottom. But I'm going to come up through, I'm going to go through 2 beads. 2 beads there, so 2 of those size 11s. And see, when I draw that a bit tighter, I'm now just going to wrap 1 aqua, 1 silver, 1 aqua under the 3mm. I'm going to go through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads like that. And that's just tightened that straight away by popping that extra little piece of aqua, silver and together underneath. So aqua, silver, aqua. I'm going to go across the 3mm and then through those 5 beads. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. And when I draw that tight, it just tightens that loosey-goosey that was there from the tassel before. So just continue that now. So aqua, silver, aqua, through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 beads. 1 more, and then I will run my thread around this bottom again 1 more time, and that'll just tighten it even further. And then we'll have a lovely beaded cap on a tassel, which, you know, what's the time? That's just taken me 45 minutes to get that one done. So that's not too bad for a Design on the Fly session. Okay. All right, so now I've got a really nice cap on the top here. I've got it really nicely tightened. I'm just going to do one more row around there. One of the ways to actually tighten that even further would be to go through, if I go through just the silver beads potentially, let me just see what happens when I do that. If I just pick up the silver bead every time, yep, that's going to work beautifully. So I'm just going through the silver beads. Remember what I said earlier about, using that contrasting colour is a really great way to know where your anchor point is. And what this is telling me now is where to tighten this by just going through those silver beads. So that'll draw those together in a ring. Pick up just the silver bead. Just the silver. And then just the silver again. Okay, so that one little row of thread has made that rounded cap sit beautifully now on that tassel. You can't see the thread. It's actually hidden there underneath the beadwork here, but I want to make sure that it's really tight. So I'm just going to go through that every time I manage to catch that little fringe. Through that a couple more times, just through the silver beads, and it's just tightening and tightening that beaded cap every step of the way. Okay. Now, one of the things I can do now is just to finish off that thread is just go through that beadwork and do a couple of half-hitch knots on the beadwork. So just capture my needle going through the thread bridge between the beads. Come on, needle. And just pulling that through and doing a couple of little knots there. And then I'm confident to cut that off. I've been through my work a couple of times and now I'm just tightening off that thread. Okay. Hi, Roz. Thanks for joining me today. Hi, Pauline. So I'm just cutting off that, and you can see now we've got this lovely little beaded cap. I'm pulling that really tightly. That's nice and secure on my beadwork. My little tassel's got one extra long hair. I'll just cut that one off. Okay, now remember I said earlier I have the lovely ribbon that came with this piece, and I think that this ribbon is going to form a really nice little form a really nice little rope for this pendant, regardless of whether I put it on a bag or a necklace or whatever. What I want to do now is do some sort of beaded capture point that sits around that thread, around that ribbon. And what I want to do is tie in the 3mm pearls, the 4mm crystals, and the Samos beads. So it's actually got that repeating pattern there. So I'm going to get another thread. Again, I'm going to use my Fireline crystal in the 6mm to do this. Crystal, I use crystal and smoke depending upon what the colour of the beads is that I'm going to use. I think with this particular pale blue, the crystal is a perfect match for it. So we've used the beads from Beadworx. So for those that have joined a little bit later, I'll just run through what I'm doing today. So this is a design on the fly session. I'm being supported today by Michelle from Beadworx up in the Gold Coast. Michelle has provided me with some beautiful blue beads, a tassel. So I'll just run through what we've used today. One of those is the Samos bead in the milky blue turquoise colour. So that's what I've popped in here, and the alternating pattern around the tassel. Some little 3mm check pearls, and they're in the Nile blue colour. She's given me some 4mm fire polish in an aqua AB colour. And I've just added into this some silver beads of my own, and some demi-round beads in the June bug colour. And I've also used from Michelle the Duracoat Aqua, deep aqua blue beads as well. But what I want to do now is create that nice little bail that sits around the top of my ribbon. Now, one of the ways that I've done this before, I've actually used a Minos bead to do that, but a ruler bead I've used to do this particular bail. I'm going to just grab out a ruler bead. So if you've done my carousel pendant class with me at any time, you will have seen me do this technique. So I'm going to use the ruler bead. So I'm actually just picking up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 rulers. Now, rulers are a little 2-hole bead. They're only tiny. They're only, I don't know, 5 mil by 3 mil. I know 5 works with this pattern and it makes a really nice little bail. So, keeper, not a bail. I'm just going to tie those into a loop. If I can remember how I've done this, I think this is how this works. Tie those into a bit of a loop. Yep. And they create this nice little column, and that ribbon is going to fit really nicely in the centre of that hole. I'm just going to run my thread now through the other side. Again, this is another 2-hole bead. So 2-hole beads, I love them. I use them in lots of beadwork things. And if I run the thread through the top and bottom hole of these, they'll create a nice little column, and these ruler beads, which look like little bricks, will all sit next to one another. So I'll just pull my tail thread and my working thread and get those all to sit where I want them to sit. That one has flipped over like that. You can see there I've created this nice little 5 bead stacked column. Okay, so what I'm going to do, this is the tricky part with this, is I'm going to thread the ribbon through the centre of that hole because it will be too tight to work with that afterwards. So if I pop that ribbon, I'm just going to use my little awl to poke that ribbon through the hole. Notice I haven't pulled that column really tightly yet because I want to be able to get the ribbon in the centre. It's actually come undone itself. That's okay. Get my awl again and poke that through. Okay, there's one side through, and I'm just going to poke the other side through. So my ribbon is attached to the tassel, and there we go. Okay, so I'm going to bring that down my beadwork. Oh, thanks, Shelley. I love doing this stuff too because I never know what I'm going to do. The prep work for a design on the fly is super easy. All I've got to do is open the box and then start designing. Okay, so I've got my little column, double stacked column of ruler beads around the ribbon. And if I draw that tightly, you'll see there that they've just all stacked next to one another. I'm just going to, my thread's gone in the wrong spot there. Okay. Now, what I want to create is this little sort of keeper that enables the, keeps the cord attached to the bottom pendant part. So, yeah, I call this a sort of a keeper. So I'm just running my thread all the way through that double row there of beads. So it's a little bit fiddly, but it's nearly sort of done. And this will make a really nice sort of slider up and down the rope. Okay, so you can see there, so I can move that up and down the rope, but it just keeps the rope in place. So I'm going to get rid of, again, the tail thread because that's annoying me. So that can come off. Okay. Now what I want to do is come out of a top of the ruler bead, and I'm going to grab some more aqua beads, and I'm going to pick up 1, 2 aqua, 1 demi round, and 2 more aqua. And then I'm going to go, where am I going to go? Okay, I'm going to go around, I'm going to thread back in the same direction through that ruler bead. Because what I'm trying to do is create that little outside edge to sit on there. Oh, hi, Michelle. Michelle's joined us today as well from Beadworx. So, hi, Michelle. Thank you so much for your little surprise package of beads. These were gorgeous colours, and I've already created this sort of little tassel pendant piece here, and I'm using the ribbon that you actually wrapped the beads with to create a ribbon for this little piece, which I'm not sure if it's a pendant yet or if it's a bag keeper or something along those lines. So again, I'll repeat that of the 2 size 11s and a demi round and then 2 size 11s, and I'm going back in the same direction through the ruler bead so that they sit on the top. And I'll explain why I want them to sit like this, because remember we've got in this piece the 3 mils that Michelle provided and the 4 mils, and I want to incorporate them into this little keeper because it actually ties together then the beads that are in the tassel part. So you can see there that's forming that nice little sort of rounded flower shape there on the top. And again, I'll pick up 1, 2, demi round, 1, 2, and then go through that again. And I'm going to repeat that around the bottom hole of the ruler bead. So I'm just going to bring my needle over to a bottom hole just there. Now I'm going to pick up 2 aqua, but I'm going to go through the demi round from the previous row. Okay, so that creates that nice little netted shape over the top. So demi round is my anchor point there. Again, go through all of the beads like that. I picked up 2 just then and just need to pop them into place. So they've now formed that nice little crisscross pattern on the outside of the ruler bead there. Okay. Michelle, you've got a question from Shelley. Shelley's over there in Pflugerville in Texas, and she'd love these beads that you've provided today. So great selection, Michelle, because they're popular. They're a gorgeous colour. Lots of aquas in this pack, which is really, really pretty. I'm looking forward to using the dagger beads that Michelle provided. So I'm going to just pop through that demi round there as well. So this is the little keeper piece that I'm putting on the top of the ribbon, on the top of my tassel, decorated tassel that we've made here, like that, and go through that bottom hole of the ruler. Every time I'm catching that around the tassel, but that's okay. Pick up 2, go through the demi round, pick up 2, come back through the ruler again in the same direction and through the next one as well. So at no point am I actually stitching the ribbon. The ribbon is still loose underneath, but I want the keeper to be able to slide up and down on the ribbon. And the keeper helps to keep the pendant piece in place. Okay. So I've now gone through there. I've now got 5 little flower pieces over the top. Now, remember I popped a demi round in the centre there. What I'm going to do is come up through to this demi round. And I'm going to use that as the anchor piece to pop in a 4 mil. So I'm going to pop a silver either side, and then I'm going to go through the demi round. And you can see there that little 4 mil just sits there on the outer edge of my ruler beads. I'm just going to bring that up. So, okay. Again, I'll pick up a size 11, a fire polish, size 11 silver, fire polish, and then I'm going to go through that next demi round bead just there. Okay, pick up a silver, a fire polish and a silver, and go through the next demi round like that. As I said, this is I haven't done it exactly the same, but this little keeper is something that is in my carousel pendant. So it's one way of adding a ribbon or a rope to a piece and making sure that it stays in place. Yeah, it's a similar technique. I haven't done this exactly the same way, but similar sort of concept. Okay, so now what I've created is actually a really nice little disc bead that slides up and down that ribbon. Okay, and I'm just going to make that really secure by running through that outside row one more time. So I'm going to go through all of the silver beads, the fire polish and the demi rounds, and it's created this nice little disc-shaped keeper bead with ruler beads as the base. So rulers are the little brick-shaped two-hole beads. I've added those from my stash. Michelle didn't give me those, but I'm sure she stocks them as well if you're looking for ruler beads. And there's something I've used in a few different designs, the tessellate pendant that's on my Etsy store, or the carousel pendant. Both of those use the ruler beads in them. And yeah, I really like them. They're a great bead for building a foundation. So you can see there's the ruler beads right at the bottom there that sit against the ribbon. They're a nice little double hole beads, so they create a lovely little column. So I've just run through all of those outer beads again, pulled that nice and tight, and I've now got this really nice little disc that sits on the top of the ribbon. It's a bit of a keeper, so it holds the ribbon in place. And what I'm going to do is just tighten that by doing a couple of half hitch knots there, and then I'm going to finish that off. Go through those thread bridges a couple of times with a half hitch, and then I'm just going to chop that off. So now I've created a really cute little tassel. It's got a little keeper bead that sits on the top of that there, and it's got that little herringbone strip on a ribbon. So there you go. There's project number 1 out of the beads that Michelle has provided in the blue theme. The Samos beads, 3mm pearls, the 4mm fire polish, a couple of ruler beads and silver beads and demi rounds that I've added. And I've got that nice little keeper that slides up and down on my ribbon and holds that tassel in place. So there's piece number 1. I'm just going to pop that to one side. I'm going to do a slight board cleanup whilst I think about what the next beads we're going to utilise. So Design on the Fly is all about the beads that Michelle has provided for me today, with some things added in from my own stash, whether they're complementary colours or they're contrasting colours. So with that one, I added a little bit of silver and a little bit of dark green. But I think the next round, I'm really curious to try and pop some hot pink or orange with the blue, because I think they're really great bright contrast colours. So let's have a look at what we've got here. Just clean these out of the way. Okay, look at that, nice fresh board. So one of the other things Michelle provided to me was these Les Papulka slushy blue raspberry cabs. So these are a 18mm. They're a nice feeling weight. They've got a blue back on them. And she's also given me some really nice indigo laser matte eye dagger beads. So straight away I can see that these will be a really nice sort of fringe piece around. You can see how they'll fit really nicely, you know, around a piece like this. So this would be a beautiful cab with this nice fringing, you know, something like that, decorative. Okay. So the other thing that she's provided for me is these little Kalos beads as well. So again, I think they will sit really nicely around that edge. We've got some seed beads in that size 8 in their silver-lined alabaster, and I have some gem duo beads in the backlit aqua pink. So I'm not sure where the pink comes from in that, but they may fit really nicely around there too. What I want to do is mount that little cab on a piece of Lacey's stiff stuff. So I'm just going to grab some of that out. so I'm going to do this in a bead embroidery way. So I've got some white. Yeah, I've got a little piece of white stiff stuff there. If you saw me open this package, I have no idea what Michelle was actually going to be providing for me today. But you can see here I've just added a few things as I need them. So I'm going to just glue down this little blue 18mm cab. So I've just got my E6000 glue here. Just going to pop that right in the centre there. Let that sit for a second. So that's just sort of holding that in place. I'm just going to cut that off so that it's squarish as well. Okay, so I want to do a really nice little edge around this cab just to capture it. So then I'm going to put some fringing with the dagger beads and I think the Kalos beads and potentially some gem duos as well. But the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm just going to continue using my crystal file line, just popping a knot on the end of my thread there. The piece of thread that I have here right now is probably not long enough and I will have to add thread in. But the beauty of using file line and adding thread, and particularly bead embroidery, you can just go through and knot a new thread in and add it in, or I can join it because it's file line. So I'm going to do a really simple back stitch around here, just picking up 2 beads at a time and coming back up through the base and then going through those 2 beads. And this gives me the size 8 beads, fabulous edge to start with. They're really good to build up quickly because they've got a nice big hole with them, and they will build up around this edge really beautifully. And what I'm doing is creating a peyote base to be able to then capture over the edge of this cabochon. So I pick up 2 beads, pop them in about a bead's width on the stiff stuff, come back up through 3 beads and repeat that all the way around the ring. The trick with doing this is that you need to have an even number. So by only picking up 2 beads every time, I can ensure that I've got an even number all the way around. It will not work as a peyote if it is an odd number. It has to be an even number. So again, I'm just picking up 2, popping the needle in about 2 beads width, coming back up through 3 beads like that, and repeat that. And I don't know how many I'll end up with, but that's going to look really cool with this sort of the fringed dagger beads all the way around. So what have I got? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So I can see there I'll probably end up with 28. So that might be 14 dagger beads potentially that are going to form this little start. This actually might be a brooch actually. That might be what I do with this. Turn this into a really cool brooch. I'm wearing blue today, so it'll be a nice brooch. I could put a little brooch clip back or a magnet clip back on it. Yeah, I've got a couple of ideas now about brooches. So with all those beautiful etched dagger beads around the outside, it'll be like a bit of a blue sun. Hello, Barbara. Thanks for joining today. Okay, nearly at the end. You can see I'm nearly running out of thread, but I wasn't wasteful with my thread. I used the smaller piece that I had there, and I will just have to add some more thread in. So I'm just picking up 2, going through 3. This is just a basic back stitch. If you've ever done embroidery, it's the type of thing that you would use in embroidery. And you can see there 2 beads are just going to pop really nicely into that hole there. And to pop the 2 in, I'm actually just going to go through the next bead there rather than stitch them in just at this point. So they've now formed that really nice ring around the cab. I'm just going to go back down through the beadwork there to secure those, and then come back up through them again and go through there again. Okay, so I've now got that nice little blue ring all the way around. Now what I want to do is build up over the top of this cab so that it stays in place. And one of the ways that you do that with bead embroidery is to do a peyote row now. And I'm going to do a contrast colour. And I wonder whether is it a rose gold colour that I pop with this potentially? Or maybe a yellow gold colour. No, I know. It's a champagne gold colour because it's got that sort of golden tinge there on those daggers. So I think maybe the champagne gold. So I'm just going to do a peyote row with those. So again, I've picked the size 8 bead, and I'm just going to go up through every second bead and pop that champagne gold one. So it just sits over the edge like that on our cab. Yeah, that's coming together really quickly and easily. With the size 8 beads, don't be frightened of using them. They're a great foundation bead because they are that little bit bigger. I'm just going to join my thread here. So I'm going to add a new piece of fire line to my existing piece. So one of the ways you can actually use fire line is to join it really easily to its beadwork. So I've got my existing piece here, and it's a bit hard to see because it's a crystal, but there's my existing piece. What I'm doing is I'm just tying a really loose loop in my new piece of thread, and I'm just popping that loop over the top of my existing tail that's sitting there on my working thread. I'm just drawing that close. I'm then just going to snip off those ends there. So you can see here I've got my little loop tied piece over the top and I've joined it. I'm now going to grab out my cigarette lighter or my flame, and I'm just going to burn those threads ends there. I just want to burn them so that they're sort of melted into that little knob. You can see they're little blobs there. And then when I pull the two threads tight like that, I've now joined that thread. So I've got a little lump there. I'll just run my thumb and forefinger over the top of that, but that thread is now joined. Super easy way to add a new piece of thread when you're using fire line. There's different people use different knot methods. That's the knot method that I prefer. So I tie a loose loop over my new thread. I place it over the tail of my working thread and just draw it tight. I like to cut the ends so that the ends are symmetrical and a nice fresh cut on them. And then I just burn them with a cigarette lighter so that they are not too big a burn. You don't want to meld it into a big lump because it doesn't really take, then it just tends to burn off. But I just like to burn a little bit of the fire line so that I can draw the two ends together and bring the knots together, bring them together in a knot, and then they melt together. So great way to join your fire line. So again, I'm just picking up my champagne size 8 beads, and I'm doing that simple row of peyote all the way around. Just caught on my scissors there. Okay, move them out of the way so that they don't catch any longer. And then I need to do one more row, I think of size 11s, that are going to just sit right on top of this cab. Now, I could start the peyote with a smaller bead. Start it with a size 11 and then reduce down to, you know, say a Delica and a size 15. Obviously, I would have to do more beads around that bottom edge, but the size 8s is a really quick and easy way to build up that foundation. And, you know, I really want to highlight the champagne gold and the contrast colour that is on those etched dagger beads. So every second bead, one more champagne bead, just going to pop into there. So you can see by me adding the champagne beads all the way around now, when I draw that nice and tight, don't do it too tight because it's going to pop the glue off, but draw that nice and tight. They're going to just sit over the edge of my cabochon like that. Okay, now I want to pop in. I'm going to step up through the first one added, and now I'm just going to pop in one of the size 11 aqua beads in there as well. So that will now draw that even closer. So my size 11 bead, just peyoteing that in between each of my beads, the champagne beads. You can see there, I've just built that nice little peyote bridge or wall and starting that up the sides. I'll keep popping the aqua bead in there. So that's the Duracoat Aqua size 11s. And the champagne gold looks really nice with this aqua sort of colour. I'm really keen to use hot pink and orange somewhere, so that might be the next thing that we actually do, because I think hot pink, orange and blue will look really nice together in the aqua, and that might be potentially some fringing on the little connector beads that Michelle provided. So just keep playing around with different things. As you know, when you've done one of these design on the flies with me, I tend to come up with, 3 or 4 designs from the beads that have been provided. And today's beads are from Michelle at Beadworx up in Queensland. And Michelle is known for having pretty much every colour of every style of bead. So when you go on her website, she's got thousands and thousands and thousands of products and can always find the new colours and things in the complete ranges of beads. So great resource to have here in Australia. Okay, so I'm just drawing that tight now, just holding it firmly with my thumb on the top, pulling that really tightly. You can see there I've got that beautiful little capture now of that cabochon like this. And I'm going to think about how I'm going to add these little fringe dagger beads on the outside. I've also got the little kalos beads that I want to try and incorporate in here as well. And they're the little they're called the Frost Azuran AB. And they are, again, another little 2-hole bead. They'll sit really nicely, potentially around this piece. Maybe alternating with a dagger bead like that is possibly how I'll do it. So what I might do is just snip this fire line. Sorry, not fire line, stiff stuff, so that it's a circle. So I'm just going to take off those corners like that. Take them off. Just so that I've got that sort of edge there to stitch down the dagger beads and the kalos beads. So you can see there I've just now got a circle of my stiff stuff. I probably could have cut a perfect circle to start with, but, I'm designing on the fly, so I didn't know what I was going to be doing when I started this piece. Okay, now I've got the dagger beads and I've got the kalos beads, and realistically they could sit just nicely on that outer edge. So I'm going to bring my needle down to one of the outer edges of those size 8 beads that I've had there. And because the size 8's got a nice little gap, really that dagger bead is likely to sit in between that bottom peyote row. So if I just pop down to there, move my scissors out of the way, when I pull that tight, that little dagger bead, was that going to sit in that gap? It might be a bit loose actually to sit there. Don't know if that'll work. It sits underneath. Yeah, I might just add a couple more and see what happens. So I'm just using the size 8 beads that were in my foundation row. And if I pull that tightly, the little daggers, they're a bit loose. Don't like that. So they're going to come out. Okay. Remember, design on the fly. I'm making it up as I go along. Okay. Let's see, they're not going to fit there. Oh, they might fit there. Let's try them instead. So we'll try the kalos beads and see whether they pop into that little gap. They could be a really nice fixture in here. We will see. If they don't work, I'll come up with something else. Okay, so these are again a 2-hole bead. So you can see the 2 holes that are there on the kalos bead. If I just pop that into the peyote bottom row there. Okay, so that sits a bit better than the dagger bead, and maybe the dagger bead might fit better into there. So let's just pop 1 each in at those gaps. Now remember, these are 2 holes, so the dagger beads are likely to fit in between those kalos beads. So I'll just keep using those to do that peyote around the bottom. You can see there, they're just sitting really nicely there. It could be that we could, do some sort of other stitching. I will want to do a bead embroidery edge around this piece as well. Yep, I'm happy with how they're sort of sitting. So this is the kalos bead in the Frost Azuran colour. And good on Michelle for picking these colours for me, because I would never pick these myself, ever. She knows the colours that I buy, and I would never, Michelle, would I? She would agree with me. I would never look at these colours. So it's a fantastic challenge for her to have set me with these today. And I'm super, super happy with how they're coming together. But yeah, it wouldn't be a colour that I would ever look at to buy myself. But yeah, how cool does that look now with those little kalos beads popping into that nice peyote section? And that's because I've used a size 8 bead to start with. And as I said, don't be frightened of a size 8 bead. They're a great, great foundation bead with the bigger holes. And I think often when we start beading as new beaders, we buy a lot of beads and bigger beads, and then we get really, caught up in all the little tiny size 15s and the size 11s and the delicas. But size 8 is just a great bead to have as a, really good foundation bead in your stash. And often when I buy beads, I love to be able to buy a size 8, a size 11 and a size 15 all in the same colour, because you never know when you want to have that matching set of beads together. So always my preference to try and find all 3 beads in the same colour. Okay, so that's worked out quite well actually. Those little kalos beads have popped in really nicely there. That one's just gotten caught around there. Okay, there we go. So I've now got the little kalos beads sitting around that cap. And then if I come out of that top hole of the kalos bead, potentially my little dagger is going to fit nicely in that top hole. Maybe. Still might be too loose, and I still might have to come up with some other way. Oh, no, let's see. Okay, pop the daggers in between, because remember I've mounted this on stiff stuff, so I'm going to have to do some sort of backing or edging on this as well, some sort of backing, because you don't want to see the stiff stuff at the back of your piece. But look at that. That's actually looking good. People, what do we think? Happy with this one? How this is coming together? I think this will be a really nice brooch idea. Oh, I quite like that as the 3. I don't know that it needs to go all the way around. I might be changing my mind on that. 5. Let's see what 5 looks like. Thoughts? All the way around, or finish it with just 3 and do some sort of other 3 or 5. 5's actually not too bad. Then I can do some more around this, and then it's got a nice bit of maybe some fringe that happens underneath here. What do we think? So remember, I've used my bit of gold here. One of the things I like to do is do that sort of repeating pattern there. So I wonder whether a gold size 8 just pops nicely into there. Look at that. I'll do the golds all the way around. Finish as is. Okay, thanks, Anita. All right, I'll keep going like this with just the 5. The 5. You like it all the way around, Shelley. Okay. Wow. Okay, I'm torn. So I've got 5 dagger beads at the bottom, and I think the dagger beads, I really love them as a sort of, now this is one of the tricks with 2-hole beads, and I should always check to make sure that there are holes all the way through. And this one, oh, yep, there it is. Oh, God, I just had a panic then that I was going to have to break a bead, but no, there is a hole there. Good. Sometimes with the 2-hole beads, there won't necessarily be 2 holes, and you might have to use your awl to poke a hole through, or a bead reamer to poke the hole through. But that one I was tricking and it was okay. How does that look? I quite like that. I quite like this little pretty design, you know, in terms of, this is, you can't see because I've actually, but I could put it as a little brooch. I think that's what this might end up being. Okay, now I want to actually make these a bit tighter. So I'm just going to run through that row of the dagger beads one more time. And then I want to pop some fringing in between the dagger beads and the kalos beads. I'll just tighten that a little bit. Okay. All right, we've now got this really nice little, this is going to be lovely to do some more building around that side, but I want to pop some fringe in between here. So I'm just going to reverse my thread so that I'm coming out between a dagger and a kalos bead there. Now, fringing in something like this, I think if I did 1, 2, and I might just grab out, I'll just grab some gold, champagne gold size 11 beads as well. I'm going to just pick up, I think maybe just 1 aqua, 1 gold, 1 aqua. And I'm just going to run that through the in between like that. Yep. So gold, aqua, gold through the dagger bead. So what I'm trying to create is this little, I just did opposite there. See what I did there? I did aqua, gold, aqua, and then I did gold, aqua, gold. So I'm just going to undo that and fix that one up. I want aqua, gold, aqua. So I want the gold in the centre. So the gold will be my little anchor point to build off a piece of fringe. Now the challenge I'm going to have will be 4 pieces of fringe. I don't know how I feel about that yet, but I do like things to be odd with this sort of a design, and it might not work like that just now, but we'll see how that comes together. So aqua, gold, aqua. Okay, through the dagger bead like that. So I've now got that sort of little bottom piece there. Again, I'm just going to reverse my thread by just capturing that through the beadwork. Remember, I've still got that foundation of the stiff stuff at the back of this. I've just caught my thread over the top of that. And I'm just going to come back through that gold bead there, the centre gold bead. So it's a similar technique to what I did in the previous pendant, in that, you know, creating contrast colour with the gold tells me what point I need to, you know, start to do that next lot of design from. Okay, so I'm coming out of a gold bead. Now, remember, I've got these lovely 3 mils that Michelle gave me as well. I've got the size 8 beads. So perhaps if I did a size 8, a 3 mil, a size 8, like that, just sort of creating that little bit of fringe that sits in at the bottom there. I might repeat that with another 3 mil and another size 8. What else has she given me? Okay. And then if I do a little 1, 2, 3 gold, and I create a little tiny picot by going back through the 5 beads again that I added, that'll create a little tiny picot that sits at the bottom of that piece of fringe. I'm going to go back through the gold bead again in the opposite direction so that my little dangle sits symmetric, hangs straight in the bottom of my fringe there. Okay, can you see that little dangle that I've popped there as well? So that I think, and then I'll do a longer one for the next one. So I'm going to come all the way through to the gold bead in the centre. I think I've gone too far, but I'll soon work that out. Yep, I went to the blue one. Okay. I'm going to go through the gold bead. Yep, like that. Again, I'm going to pick up a size 8, a 3mm, a size 8, and then to make this a little bit longer, I'm going to pop a fire polish in there and a size 8, and then another 3mm, and then a size 8. So that's going to make that fringe dangle just slightly longer than the first one. Again, I'll pick up 3 of the size 11 beads in the gold, and I'm going to just create a picot by going through all 5 of those, or 7 of those beads, however many I've added there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so that little piece of fringe is slightly longer than the first one. I'm going to go back through all of those beads again and go in the opposite direction through the gold starting bead so that my little dangle holds straight. So you can see there I'm going in the opposite direction to what I actually came out of. And I'll go through the dagger bead, through the 11 and up through the gold again. So I'll just try and do it. I won't try and do it all in one go. Okay, there's my dagger bead. Catching the thread. Okay, I'm going to go through that dagger, through the size 11 aqua, and through the size 11 gold. Just like that. What do we think about this? I think it looks pretty cool, actually. All right, so I now need a longer... I think I only need 4 fringes, to be honest, 4 daggers. I might break that one. I think I'm going to break that one. Okay, I'm going to break a bead. Sorry, Michelle. I'm just popping my awl into that dagger bead. I'm just pushing so that it breaks, okay? Because I symmetrically that didn't work for me. I'm actually also going to take off that little piece of the gold and aqua there as well. And I'm going to replace that with there we go. Now, that thread will tighten up. I'm not too concerned about that, but I like this better with just 3 fringes versus 4. Just didn't sit. Okay, so I'm now going to repeat that, and I'm going to pick up a size 8, a 3mm, size 8, a 3mm, and a size 8. Again, never frightened of breaking a bead. Just, you know, it wasn't sitting right, so I'm happy to have taken that. I think the fringe looks better with an odd number versus an even number. So again, I'll come back up through to create that little picot that sits at the bottom. Go through the gold bead and the aqua bead. Just like that. I'm going in the opposite direction again so that my little fringe hangs neatly. I'm going to go back through that dagger and the kalos bead because I need to just add back in a size 8 champagne gold bead there so that that finishes that back to where I was before. Okay, so now have a look at that. What do we think of this? It's looking pretty good. I've got the 4 dagger beads. I've got 3 little pieces of fringe. I've now got this nice sort of 3/4 circle that I want to do some sort of decorative thing over. But I also need to remember to back this because this is on stiff stuff. So I think I'll do that first because I need to leave an edge to be able to stitch onto that. So what I'm going to need is a piece of leather or fabric. And I've got some, I'll open my scrap leather box. I've got lots of scrap leather. Look at this beautiful colour. I think this is probably what is going to sit really, oh yeah, look at that gorgeous. Sit sit really nicely on the back of my piece. Now, of course, if I was clever, I would have cut this out at the same time, but I don't know what size it is, so I'm going to just have to guess. It's probably a little bit bigger than a 20-cent piece. I'll just need a piece of leather. So when you're doing a backing piece on a piece of bead embroidery, this piece needs to be exactly the same size as this finished piece of stiff stuff. So if I grab the other cab, that's a good start. So thank goodness Michelle gave me two. I know that it's going to be a little bit bigger than that. So, you know, it's, look at me just guessing how big this piece is, but probably around that big. And I want to cut it a little bit bigger so that I can trim it off. Yep, I've definitely cut that a bit bigger. So I'm just going to trim that off a little bit more. And then I'm going to glue it down and I'm going to stitch another row so that I'm backing this piece. Okay, I'm going to glue that on now and then I'll trim it after I've glued it. So again, I'm going to use my E6000 glue that I had here before. Oh, there it is. And I'm just going to pop some glue onto the back of my piece there. Again, my handy awl, really great tool. Look at that. I can just use that to spread glue as well. So if you don't have one, get yourself a beading awl. It's the best tool. I use it. You've seen me use it now to break beads, to untangle things, to use on a piece to glue. So I'm just going to pop that piece there like that, and I'm going to trim that now. So I'm going to get some finer scissors to actually trim that. So I'm just going to trim away that edge so that you're not going to see that overhang edge. Just trim that there. So what I'm trying to get is that to be the same size as my stiff stuff. So you can see there, I've trimmed that now. Okay, I'll get rid of those scraps. Now I want to do a nice edge here. So I'm just going to run my thread. Let me come back here. I want to try and start doing this somewhere around here, around the bottom. So bead embroidery back stitch is a really great stitch for finishing off beadwork. I like to use demi rounds often when I do this, but for this thing I think I'm going to do the aqua. So to start with, I'm going to pick up 2 beads and then I just go through, I'm going to go through the foundation fabric and through that leather. So I'm running my needle through both. And I'm going to pull that up tight. And then I'm just going to go through the second bead added, just like that. And then when I pull that, it actually turns the beads and they sit on the side. So I'm just going to repeat that. This will take me a little while, so just bear with me while I do this. And if you've got any questions or ideas or other things you'd like me to create, by all means pop it in the comments. I'm happy to try and accommodate that. So I'm just going to do this. This is the trickiest part here, where I'm trying to do this around the fringe. So I just need to be careful that I don't catch the fringe, but I'm going through the stiff stuff and the leather at the same time. I'm pulling it so that my bead flips and has the hole pointing to the outside like that. And then I can add some sort of decoration into that edge. So again, I push my needle through about a bead's width through the stiff stuff and the leather, and I pull up and go through the bead so that I flip it so that it comes on the outside. You do see a little bit of thread on the back of bead embroidery when you do it like this. It's pretty much unavoidable, but you also, if you take a really big stitch and you go right into the leather, the stitch will be bigger and more obvious. So you try not to do too big a stitch. You try and make your stitching a little bit fine, but you also want to make sure that you've captured the 2 layers as you come through. And I'm just going gently so that I'm not capturing the fringe and tangling the fringe up as I'm doing it. Once I get past this little bit of fringe, it's a little bit quicker. So I'm going through 2 layers, pulling it gently, going back through the bead that's just been added so that my stitch flips the other way. And again, I did say this was going to be a brooch, but maybe not now. I don't know. This could be another pendant or another charm, or, you know, potentially Michelle's given me 2 of these cabs. I could make 2 of these pieces and actually join them together somehow. You know, maybe if I did 2 like that and then they were joined as a piece, I don't know. This is what design on the fly is all about, is creating as I go. So I'll keep going back through and finishing off that little edge. So when you use a size 11, obviously it takes a little bit longer, but it creates a finer edge than what a size 8 would. Size 8's possibly can be a bit bulky to do around this type of an edge. Great as a foundation bead, but for a bead embroidery finished piece, could be a little bit too bulky. So now I'm past the sort of fringe, so I'm less likely to catch things. Hi, Marilyn. Nice to see you here. And Jacinta and Linda. I'm doing my design on the fly today with blue beads provided by Michelle from Beadworx up in Queensland. Michelle has picked a great selection of beads for me to utilise today in colours that I probably would not have chosen. So it's a fantastic challenge to have those blue beads. She's chosen some really lovely pale aqua sort of colours for me today, including these lovely etched dagger beads, which are part of this fringe that I'm doing. And with this particular piece, I've contrasted and added some champagne gold in with this because it sort of matches that holographic finish on the dagger beads. So I'll keep going all the way around this. And I want to actually build out over the top of those Kalos beads as well, and create like a little bit of a sun effect, I think. And the reason I'm doing this edge now, it's easier to do this now before I build out too much further on this edge, because otherwise things just catch all the time. So when you're designing like this, you've got to know which step to do at which time. And I know that if I leave this, then I will end up just catching everything all the time. Oh, thanks, Jacinta. I'm glad you're enjoying it. My process is design on the fly. I don't know what I'm going to be making. I just sort of go with what beads have been provided. And today the Kalos beads and the etched daggers are featuring in this little piece, which could be a brooch, could be a pendant, could be a set of 2 that I might make. I've seen this really cool design for brooches that has 2 pieces with a chain in the middle, and you then clip them on and have, say, over the top of a collar. So you might put, you know, 1 on each collar type thing. So this is the sort of design that could fit with. And I'm also in the middle of planning out my Bead Society Victoria bead challenge design at the moment as well. That is in the complete opposite colours to this. Our colour theme this year is magenta pink. So I couldn't resist that once I saw that there was pink beads involved. So I'm in the middle of designing that, but I can't show you that one. That's a surprise that will come up at the Bead Expo in November later this year. So we have about 5 or 6 months to design that piece, and I've started the planning for that one right now so that I've got that ready in plenty of time. Keep stitching this. I know this is a bit boring watching me do this, but this bead embroidery back stitch is one of the most useful stitches you'll ever know in terms of doing bead embroidery. And if you can master this, you can create really beautiful finishes on your bead embroidery pieces. Again, I'm using a size 10 needle and 6-pound crystal fire line. I generally always start my beadwork with a size 10. I will only swap to a smaller needle if I absolutely have to, because I bend them way, way too easy. So for me, a size 10 needle is a little bit like a crowbar. I just like to use this biggest needle I possibly can. and swap over to a smaller one when I need to. Hi, Lorraine. Nice to see you here as well. This is my Facebook Live for Design on the Fly. If you've got any questions, just pop them in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. The beads today have been provided by Michelle from Beadworx in Queensland, and Michelle wrapped the beads with a beautiful blue ribbon, which I've actually utilised in the first project, and I'll show you that one in a second for people who've joined a little bit later. Okay, I'm nearing the end of joining up my bead embroidery edge, and so what that's done is just created a really nice finished edge around this piece. So when you have a look at this, you can just see that little edge of blue that's popped out there, but I'll do some more work around these pieces as well. We're using the Kalos beads in this design, along with a Papuka cab piece, which is the blue central 18mm glass cab, and some etched dagger beads as well. Now, when you do this bead embroidery edge and you're getting towards the end, it's better to not jam too many beads in. So you can see there, I've got a gap there that I could potentially fit 2 beads in, but I'm only going to pop 1 in, because if you put in too many, it actually buckles. You're better off to draw them together rather than try and squeeze in an extra bead. So I've still got a slight gap there between the bead that I'm coming out of and the bead that I started with, but I'm just going over the top and just joining that together. And you can see that that gap's just filled up really, really nicely as well. Okay, so I'm just going to come back out through that edge bead there. And there you go. There's my nice bead embroidery edge all the way around my piece, including where the fringed part is just here. I haven't caught any of the fringe. That's nice and still loose on my piece. I've still got my Kalos beads around the outer edge here. And I'm going to just bring my thread to come out. I want to be coming out of this section just here so that I can start to do some edge work around the Kalos beads. So I'm just going to move my needle and thread to come back through my bead work there. And I'm going to come out of the dagger bead. Okay. And now I'm coming out of where I want to be to add some edging around here. So again, I think I'll do aqua, gold and aqua, and pop those around that edge. Aqua, gold, aqua. So what that's doing is also then tying that pattern back here to what I did at the very start with that little piece of fringe joining. I'll just pop out some more aqua beads. So aqua, gold, gold and aqua, and around the Kalos. Now, is 3 enough? Let's have a look. If I pull that tight, is 3 enough? Maybe not. Maybe I might need 4, I think. Let me just, I'll keep going with 3. What do we think? Do you like this design? I'm pretty happy with how it's come together, but let me know in the comments what your thoughts are. This, as I said, could be a brooch, it could be a pendant. I'm not quite sure what this might end up being, but yeah, I think the colours look really good together. The aqua and gold and the pale blue together looks really nice. It's just popping this nice little edge between the champagne gold size 8 beads and over the top of the Kalos bead. And I'm going to be running out of thread again in a second. So if you missed it before, you will get to see me do another thread join with the fireline thread. Really easy way to join thread so that you get to utilise right to the very end of your tail thread with fireline. So I use a particular knot method, and I'm happy to show how I do that in a second. Okay, look at that nice little edge all the way around my piece like that. Blue, gold, blue, and then through that dagger bead there. Okay. What do you think, people? That one's not sitting quite as nicely as the others. Don't know why. Maybe I'll just pull it a bit tighter, see what happens. It would look great on a hat. That's a good suggestion, Jacinta. I mean, this is the thing, like with beading up, how many pendants and how many earrings, you know, do you have? But this would look really cool on a hat too. So now I want to actually utilize this little edge that I've got here as well and do something out of that. So I'm just going to add some more thread on. Again, I'm cutting about a metre of fire line. Metre and a half is tend to be what I use. I find if you cut anything much bigger or longer than that, you just end up with knots all the time and tangles, and that's no fun for anybody. So I would rather join thread than undo tangles. So I tend to try and work with a shorter length. So there's my working thread just here. Again, I'm tying a loose loop over my new thread. I'm popping that loop over the tail of my working thread. Just hold the two ends together and draw a slight knot there. A knot. I'm then going to just cut the two ends so that they're nice and symmetrical. So snip those two ends off. Get my cigarette lighter or flame, whichever method you want to use. I'm just burning those so that I've got a nice little melted blob at the end, not too big, but a nice blob. And then I'll pull the tail thread and the working thread together, and I've now made a knot. I rub my thumb and forefinger over that to round out that knot. And now you can see there I'm pulling that really tightly. That's not coming undone. So great way to join fire line in your work. So yeah, really, really cool method of joining thread. Now, let's see. What else do I want to do to this piece? So I know I want to do some more edging, edging around this part here. Okay, so now this is what's the best part. The back looks just as neat as what the front does. So this is part of the, process of beadwork, is to making sure that your work looks neat. And I'm really happy with how neatly this has come together with that bead embroidery edge. And I want to try and utilize those little holes that are there. I don't need to bead around this part here, around the bottom, because you're actually not going to see that. So I really just sort of need to bead out in that section. And what I want to try and do is create a row of sort of rays, I suppose you could call them, little sun rays. And I'm just going to bring my needle through to the back of my work here. Remember, I've got that knot that I created, so I'll just pull that through. There we go. That's just popped through. And I want to come out of a bead just here. Okay. So a nice little, sort of sun ray edge that replicates this sort of pattern here is what I'm thinking. So if I do 2 aqua, 1 gold and 2 aqua, and I go through and I skip a bead. So I'll go through, and let's just hope that that count works out. I should probably count them first, but, I can't be bothered. We'll work that out at the end. So that's now going to create that sort of second layer that sits behind. Okay, so I'll come up through the next bead. Now I'm going to pick up 2 aqua, 1 gold and 2 aqua, and I'm going to skip a bead and go through the next bead. Let's see how that looks. So you can see there, just the spacing of that is now sitting behind that little 3 bead kalos beads in the front of the work. Now, I haven't planned that. It's just good fortune at this stage. So we'll see if that continues as I go around. So I'll go through a bead, pick up 2 aqua, 1 gold and 2 aqua, and skip a bead and go through the next one. We'll see if my good luck has continued. Oh, look at that. Look at that. Really happy with how this has come together. Okay, again, go through the next bead. So I'm now utilising that brick stitch edge that I created. I'm tying it back with the gold that I've popped through the piece every so often as a contrast bead. I'm doing a repetition piece with these little rays around, sun rays, whatever I want to call them, around the edge so that it ties into the front of the piece. So I'm picking up 2 aqua, 2 gold and an aqua, skipping over 1 bead and then coming back up straight away through the next bead and repeating this around. So when you hold that down like that, you can see now I've got that nice little double layer. I need some more aqua beads. I've used quite a few of these. It's such a gorgeous colour. Okay, so 2 aqua, 1 gold, 2 aqua. Go skip over a bead, come back through, go straight up through the next bead, pick up 2 aqua, 1 gold and 2 aqua, and then come back through the, skip over a bead. Or let's see whether my count is going to work out at the end. As I said, I could have counted at the start, but, you know, I didn't. Okay. I'm living dangerously, hoping that the count works out. I'm sure that it will. It's design on the fly, so it's obviously meant to be however I make it. And I think I'll be just about right. Pick up my last one. So 2 aqua, 1 gold and 2 aqua, and then go skip over a bead and go through the bead just there. Okay. Now I've created this little double layer all the way around, and grab my awl again. One of the things I like to do is just pull those little points out so they're sitting really nicely. If they're not behaving, I'll just use the awl in that gold bead just to pop that out. And that's created a really nice double layer around that piece. Okay, what else can I do to this? I don't know that it's finished yet. I think it could probably have a little bit more. So I'm just going to come back up through those gold points. Remember, I've still got some... there's some not fire polish, gem duo beads, I think they're called. They're gem duos in backlit aqua pink, but I'm not sure if they'll work on this, but we'll see. So I'm coming out of a gold bead there. Now the Samos bead may actually fit there. Look at that. That might be the one. So if I pick up an aqua, a Samos and an aqua, and I'll go through the next gold bead. What do you think about that? I reckon that doesn't look too bad. So this is the Samos Milky Blue Turquoise. And this is the beauty about, you know, doing this sort of layering work with bead embroidery. I've got lots of holes and areas that I can just build up and, you know, build out of. Because I've done that really nice, neat leather stitching at the back of my piece, the back is finished. So this sort of netting that I'm putting over the top is just finishing that off. What do we think about that? Looking really nice with the Samos bead in there as well. Again, the Samos bead is another 2-hole bead. It has a sort of oval domed top, so you've got to make sure that you go through the same hole area each time. But that, yeah, I'm really, really happy with that, and I know what the last piece it's going to be in joining these together, and this piece will be almost finished. And then I'm just going to go on to the little silver pieces that Michelle has provided as well. So this is the second piece that I've done today in this design on the fly. So I've been going now for almost 2 hours. So this is the second piece that I've created in that time. The time flies when you're having fun, when I'm having fun doing this, and I really appreciate it when people spend their time, their morning or afternoon, wherever they are, in joining me in this. So I thank you for coming along and seeing me do this design on the fly piece. Okay, so there's my last one that I'm just going to pop into there. Look at that. It's actually looking really, really cool. And now I just want to pop something in between those oval pieces. So it's a nice little pendant, hat piece, brooch. Not quite sure yet. I could still, you know, do some sort of brooch back in there. So I'm just moving my needle to be able to come out of one of the top holes on this Samos bead. I'm just going to pick up 1, 2, 3 aqua beads and go on the outside of my Samos there, like that. Now I'm going to pick up let's do gold 3mm and gold there. And if I pop that through that top hole of the Samos bead, what do we think? Gold 3mm and gold. Yeah, I think it works too, Jacinta. I really like the Samos bead there. I'm not sure about this next piece here. I feel like I want to retain that oval edge, and if I pop those 3 in, it actually rounds it rather than retains the oval. So I don't know if I like that next bit. I'm just going to pull that out. Again, design on the fly means I am making this up as I go. So I wonder whether, the piece that I created earlier was this tassel piece, and I used the Samos beads and created that sort of blue oval that went around it, or the blue bead. So I don't know, maybe that's what that needs. Let me just try that. Then I get to retain that sort of oval shape. Because I think that looks really good with the oval shape there. And I'm going to finish this bit off, and then we'll quickly go on to the silver beads that Michelle's given me as well. So I've just picked up 3 again, and if I go back through the size 11, the centre bead there, that just gives that nice blue bead finish. And I'll come back up through the size 11. Where's my aqua beads? I need some more. Pick up 1, 2, 3. Go through the Samos. 1, 2, 3. Come back through all 3 beads. Let's see, I'll just do that and see if that works. What do you think about that? Because then I can come back around. Yeah, okay. And then I can do the little picos. Right. Okay. I'm on a roll now. Okay, 3 through the Samos, and then 3, and through the 3 beads there. Back up through. Sorry, this is taking a little bit of time, but that's what happens when we are making it up as we go along. But I know what I'm going to do for the top of the ovals now. I will do a similar sort of picot that I've done on the bottom of the dangles, and that ties that all together then. Thanks, Angie. Nice to see you here too. Angie's another one of my suppliers that supports my Beads on the Fly sessions. So we did a session with Angie from Chicky Babes Beads earlier this year on hearts. So thanks, Angie, for coming along today. Today's been supported by Michelle from Beadworx up in Queensland with a Design on the Fly theme of blue. And Michelle's gone above and beyond in supplying me with blue beads that I would not normally purchase myself. So she's really challenged me with these, and I love how they're coming together. The blue and gold contrast looks really nice with the etched dagger beads, the little Samos aqua beads, and the Kalos aqua beads as well. So they're all being surrounded by a bead embroidery cabochon of a 18mm Papuka glass cab, and that's the center of this piece. So, you know, from little things, big things grow. It's a really easy way to build out a lovely pendant piece. Or I still feel like this is a brooch, and I'll have to think about how I'm going to do a brooch back on this. But yeah, I feel like this will actually become a brooch when it's finished, or as Jacinta said, a great suggestion to go on a hat as well. You know, there are lots of ways that we can decorate our clothing with beadwork. Can't believe I haven't made a pair of earrings yet today. Always I tend to make lots of earrings, but I've got an idea with the silver connector beads that Michelle provided to do some earrings. But I just want to finish this piece off. I'm nearly there. So I've got 3, 3, 3. Okay. So look at that now. Looks really good with that sort of ray that's just repeated all the way around now. And I want to, these little picos that I've put in the bottom of the daggers, I want to pop them on the top of those ovals. So I'm going to just get my needle to come back up through the beadwork like that. And I want to be coming out of one of those set of 3 that I've just added. So just keep moving my needle to come out there. Aren't they gorgeous, those? Oh, Angie, those daggers are you. They've got the peacock theme in them well and truly in that pale blue. They're really nice. Okay, so now I think I want to add an aqua. I think we're going to need 2 aqua, a gold, and 2 aqua, I think, is what I'm going to need. And I'm just going to try one and see if that works. Yeah, look at that. Nice little touch of gold there at the bottom. So I'm going to come all the way down to, what have I gone through? 1, 2, 3, 2 beads. And then if I go back through 2 beads, I wonder if I need to pop one in the middle. I might need to just pop a gold in the middle there. Catching every time. Does that need that? Yep. Okay, some more aqua. Yeah, this is the aqua, deep aqua blue Duracoat galvanized. I love the Duracoat galvanized beads. Love them. Gorgeous beads to work with. So I'm just going to go through 2 beads, pick up 1 gold, come up through 2. So I'm just popping a little gold there in the center so that holds it into place. 2 aqua, 1 gold, 2 aqua, go through 2 beads, pick up 1 gold, come up through 2 beads, like that. Really happy with how this is coming together. So a really nice pendant piece, brooch piece, handbag piece, lots of ways you could utilise this piece of beadwork. And it just looks like a great big blue ray of flowers. They're called the Laser Eye Design. And Michelle's got a whole lot of these in stock. So as I said, if you get onto Michelle's website, her brand new website, I might add, she's spent months working on this. Her brand new website has pretty much every colour of every bead ever made. She's an incredible stockist of beads. So if you have a lazy Saturday afternoon or whatever time zone you're in shopping, get onto Beadworx and have a look at Michelle's new website and her complete range of beads that she hosts there. And she's provided me with a gorgeous selection of blue beads to use here today. So this particular piece has the Samos beads, the Kalos beads, the Parpuka cabochon, and the etched dagger beads, along with some 3mm pearls, some gold beads that I've added from my stash. So I've added some champagne gold beads in there as well, in both the size 8 and in the size 11, and a little bit of leather and some stiff stuff to create a bead embroidery cabochon piece. So I'm just going to finish that off now. So there we go. That is a peacock brooch if ever I saw one. I'm really super, super happy with how that's come together. This is using a little bit of fringe, the Samos beads, the Parpuka beads, bead embroidery. So how's that one? So that's 2 pieces today created from my design on the fly. So we've got the brooch, the little tassel with the beaded keeper, and I've used the ribbon that Michelle wrapped the piece in as well. And I think this one here is a really nice brooch piece. I'm just going to flip the camera so you can see what I mean with that. Just bear in mind, and I will go back to my work in a second. So you can see here, this is a great brooch. Looks really good, that sort of style and design as a brooch. So I will flip back over and you can see me do some more work on some earrings. Hang on one second. Okay, so 2 designs so far today, the tassel piece and the little peacock brooch design that I've just created as well. And I'm just going to clear off my board again. Yeah, messiest beater. I'll just move that out of the way. That's nice and clear now. And I'm just going to go through and have a look at the little silver connectors that Michelle gave me as well. So these are an antique silver connector. And I mean, these are earrings if ever I saw them. So, potentially 2 on each one, some sort of drop type thing. But I really like the idea of putting some hot pink and orange in with some of the blues that Michelle has provided. So I'm just going to find my needle, which is over here somewhere, and have a little think about how this is going to work. So obviously you can join these with jump rings, really easy way. I've created seed bead rings before as well, earring hooks from the top of those. And then because this is a cast iron piece with holes in it, you can actually do some great fringing on something like this. So I'm going to just grab out some pink beads, because I think that hot pink is going to go really, really well with this. Hot pink, what do I want? I want here's some gorgeous hot pink beads with that aqua. And I also think I need some orange too. So orange, hot pink, and aqua. Look at those 3 colours together. They're a really gorgeous sort of colour mix. I'm going to use some smoke fire line this time because I'm using the antique silver. I don't want to use the crystal. I'll use some smoke so that the smoke fire line blends really well with that antique silver connectors. So again, I'm going to thread about 1 metre of thread and just pop that, just thread my needle And I'm only going to do one piece of these today. You'll have to wait until I finish the rest this afternoon. But I've just got a little quick idea around some fringing with these types of pieces. So because this has got the gorgeous hole at the back, or back or front, great way to add some beads as sort of stopper beads. So the little 3mm aquas that Michelle gave me, I'm going to pop some pinks in here too. A little bit of orange and the aqua and gold. Now, to do a little stop bead, I'm just picking up a size 8 bead, a pink bead there, a little aqua bead, a blue one, and then I think I need some silver size 15s as well. And then a little silver size 15. And I'm just going to create a really simple piece of beading fringe. So to create that fringe, I'm just going back through the 11, the 3mm and the size 8 bead here. And I'm just popping, and I'll just come back through anywhere on this piece and just repeat that fringe. And I'm going to do variations of the colour themes that I've got here, incorporating the orange and the pink in to this piece. And so again, I'm just going to skip over the size 15, go back through the 3 beads again to create that little piece of fringe on here. And I'm going to do variations in what I'm adding on here. I've got the fire polish that I can include here as well. So again, let's start with a pink bead, a fire polish, an orange bead and a silver bead. And just make a little bit of fringe again on my piece. So even though the theme was blue, I'm adding in some contrast colours to actually jazz this up a little bit. So the 2 other pieces I made only had contrast in metallic, whether it was silver or gold. And this piece I'm doing real bright contrast colours. And you can see there, I just went back through the same hole that I'd come up with. So that's why that one just popped straight off the perch then. I'll keep adding those on. So my little bit of bead fringing will fill up this connector disc. And if I do it on both discs and then join them together, they will make a really nice pair of earrings. So you can see there that little bit of fringe, different colours on there, just to create a point of difference. So again, the pink, the blues and the oranges and silvers, just repeating that all the way through. There's lots of holes on these connectors to be able to add in different beads wherever you want to. I'm not doing any rhyme nor reason. There's no patterns here. I'm just adding in little bits of bead fringe onto this connector bead, the connector piece, and utilising the holes that you can see, all the holes that are in the back. You can't see the thread because I've chosen the smoke thread to add into this. I've got a little tail thread there that I'll cut off at some point. I probably needed to knot that, which I didn't do, but I will make sure that I finish that off properly. So I might do a different one, you know, sort of 3 little orange pieces, and I can do a little picot with the 3 silvers as well. So little picot like I did on the other piece, by just skipping over the 3 beads and going through the orange, 3 orange and the pink. It's created a little picot piece there, little stop stitching of stacked beads. Now repeat that one again. So this is often the way when you're doing this type of bead work, is to repeat similar things. So there's some consistency. So I've repeated by having the pink as the base bead every time. I'm repeating this little stacked stitch with the 3 orange and the picot. So I've got a couple of those in there. I'll repeat now with a fire polish and an orange and a silver bead. So I've got a couple of those on there as well. And just go through all of them. So I'm just filling up the gaps that are on this connector bead here. So another blue, silver. Repeat that all the way through. Okay, so my little piece is getting nice and full with fringe there. A couple more bits in there, I think. So the pink, blue, 3mm, blue, silver. So I'm repeating the same little pieces everywhere on this connector bead, and then I will do the same on the other two connectors. So I've got two connectors, so I'll do the same, and then I will join those with a little jump ring. When you sort of splay that fringe out, you get to see all the different colours and things that are in there as well, and they will create a really nice little pair of earrings. So that will be the third of my design on the fly pieces today. So I hope that you have enjoyed seeing me do this today. It's been a thrill to work with blue beads from Michelle at Beadworx and see what she thought I could utilise today. And there's been 3 new designs that have come up. The tassel piece using the ribbon that she actually wrapped the beads with. I've also shown you how to use Samos beads in an asymmetrical form, and then I've used them again around the peacock sort of brooch piece with the daggers that has created like a sort of array effect with the Samos beads and the Kalos beads, and I've used those in a bead embroidery format in the second piece. So there's been a couple of techniques that you've seen today, and this little fringing one is a super quick and easy way to just decorate a metallic piece. So you can see there I've got all that little bit of fringing that's sitting on the top of my piece here, and I probably want to add maybe one more, and maybe just on these outer ones I won't build the stack, I'll just do the pink with a silver, so that it sort of has a raised center and then a lower outer edge. So the pink and just a little silver stop bead there, just to fill that all the way out. And I don't need to add that anywhere else. Maybe one more there. Pink and a stop bead, just like that. And you can see there now I've got a lovely piece of fringe on the top of that piece, and I'm going to create a second one and join that together and make earrings out of that. So just going to do a quick run through of what I've worked on today. So the fringe on the connector beads, so like that I've used the blue beads as the main theme. I've added a little bit of pink and orange onto that, and that will have a connector bead, and that will actually be a lovely pair of drop earrings. I've also made the peacock style brooch, which is exactly what I think this will be. So I need to add a brooch back to this, so stitch a brooch back across the back of it. I could potentially add a little bit more fringe here as well. I feel like it's probably a little bit, now that I've added this outer edge, I feel like it needs something a bit longer at the bottom. So I may add a couple more drops of fringe on there as well. And then the first piece I created was a really sweet little tassel pendant, handbag charm, whatever you'd like to call it, that's got this really nice little keeper bead on it as well. And it's got the Samos beads used in an asymmetrical pattern there, along with the fire polish and the 3mm beads. And I did a little herringbone strap that sits on the top of that tassel. So again, thanks everybody for coming along today. Michelle from Beadworx is been my bead supplier today. So there's Michelle's details for those who are interested. It's Beadworx with a K. Michelle is based up in Queensland, and she's got a fabulous array of beads in her store and generally has all beads in every colour. So thanks, Michelle, for being my supporter for today. I'm just going to flip my camera again, and thank you, everybody, for coming along to my design on the fly blue today. Really great session, sponsored by Michelle. 3 fabulous pieces created, and look out for my next design on the my next Facebook Live session, which is around metallic slide clasps. So I'm going to show you a couple of methods in the way that I use slide clasps in bracelet cuffs. Look forward to seeing you then. Any of the tutorials that are available, they're all on my Etsy store, so by all means have a look at those. Or if you're looking for finished pieces, you can check them out on my website as well, onastring.com.au. Thanks, everybody, for today. Have a lovely Saturday, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.